On this St. Patrick's Day, I want to share some words from that saint which are still important for us to hear today. Stay tuned. Hello, friends. Pastor Tim Westermeyer here, Senior Pastor of St. Philip the Deacon in the western suburbs of Minneapolis. Good to be with you as always. This past Sunday, I ended up preaching about the emotional feeling of fear that it involved talking about Jesus' lament over Jerusalem. We'll link to that sermon if you want to see it. The reading from last Sunday also was related to protection from fear, or a prayer for deliverance in the form of Psalm 27. That was one of our readings for that Sunday, which begins, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" And that psalm goes on to talk about God's protection. And I was actually thinking about talking about that for one of these episodes anyway, this idea of fear and of inviting God's protection in our life. And I'm a little slow on the uptake on some of this stuff. I realized that the day we're going to publish this is St. Patrick's Day. And he has a very famous prayer, which I just want to read some of it today. It's called the Lorica, or the Breastplate of St. Patrick. Lorica comes from a Latin word that means a prayer of protection. So very similar to Psalm 27. It's a longer poem than I'm going to read all of, but I want to lift up just a couple of stanzas, I guess, from it as a prayer for all of us. There are always things in this lifetime that are troubling and difficult and that cause us to fear. And on this day, I think it's appropriate to lift up those words from St. Patrick as a way to remind us that we have a God who comforts us and sustains us and protects us. So this is a portion, at least, of St. Patrick's breastplate, or St. Patrick's Lorica, which begins, "I arise today through a mighty strength, the invocation of the Trinity, through belief in the threeness, through confession of the oneness of the Creator of creation." And then skipping ahead, a couple of stanzas, "I arise today through God's strength to pilot me, God's might to uphold me, God's wisdom to guide me, God's eye to look before me, God's ear to hear me, God's word to speak for me, God's hand to guard me, God's shield to protect me, God's host to save me from snares of devils, from temptation of vices, from everyone who shall wish me ill, afar and near." And then the final stanza is actually the one that many people think of as the entirety of the Lorica, or the breastplate, and it's the most famous part of the poem, which goes like this: "Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ in me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left, Christ when I lie down, Christ when I sit down, Christ when I arise, Christ in the heart of every man who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of me, Christ in every ear that sees me, Christ in every ear that hears me. Christ in every eye that sees me, Christ in every ear that hears me." And then the conclusion comes back to the way the poem starts. "I arise today through a mighty strength, the invocation of the Trinity, through belief in the threeness, through confession of the oneness of the Creator of creation." And on this St. Patrick's Day, I pray that you may take comfort in those words, and a happy St. Patrick's Day to you. As always, be well, stay in touch, and God bless.